Now look at this clay layer. It's 300 feet high underneath the soil there, ready to come down. I'm very leery about this every time I come through the solid clay there for hundreds of feet. Okay, another example of clay layer just underneath the soil, a few feet, and then many feet of clay. With this gray stuff here. It's wet, slippery, slimy, and even looks so pretty right there. Okay, here's a clay area in the Fraser Valley. It's at least 200 feet of clay, and it comes all the way down to the bottom. We don't even know if it ends there, but that just gives you an example of how much is there. So anyway, that's it. And here comes the truck for measurement. Okay, again, this whole area of Fraser Valley, northern Fraser Valley, was all under the ocean at one time during the Pleistocene era. And this clay was laid down here. There's a whole layer several yards deep, and this covers the whole of the northern Fraser Valley, at least that I know of. And it's called the Pleistocene clay. It's very good clay, but it's very slippery, especially when it's wet and it rains. The water seeps through it and becomes like a lubricant. So anyway, in the future, this whole slope will slump down because of that clay, usually after it gets wet, after a violent rainstorm. So anyway, that's called the Pleistocene clay, and that's a hazard to this whole geographic region. Okay, there's another area. There's trees hanging out over that cliff. Deep layer of clay underneath all the way down to the bottom here. Water leaking through, ready to slide. Another area in Maple Ridge from the Pleistocene clay layer, brought in by the last glacier many years ago. Here another area, Maple Ridge. This is the road's been cut through this Pleistocene clay to show you the layer here. This is all going to fall down at some time. Unlikely right now, so I will get a little closer and show you the clay. So there's that big stump right there, ready to come down. And here's the clay that forms a layer. And I can't see the bottom of the layer, but here it's at least 10, 15 feet deep, maybe 20 feet deep. With some boulders on the top that were brought in from the last glacier, obviously. But you can see the water's running right through this clay, making it very slippery and ready to slide at any moment, and that's why I'm moving right now. And there's more. You can see the clay here now. The clay doesn't end here. It probably goes down, as I showed you in the last one, maybe 200 feet. So this whole area is like a lubricated slide surface, with especially with the water sliding right over it here on the clay. You can see the stream bed is in the clay. Okay, here's another area. The road's been cut through this hill, but it shows you it's all Pleistocene clay there, probably 80 feet high of it, just under the soil and the trees. And you can see the road's been cut there. And this side's even higher with growth over the whole thing, but it's probably Pleistocene clay just like it would be on this side here. Okay, another video in Maple Ridge. This almost 200-foot layer of Pleistocene clay, just to show you. The top has soil and trees and that growing in it, but look how it's all eroded away and falling away. And I would say that's almost 200 feet up. Clay layer ready to slide. Especially with the creek here eroding it. But that's Pleistocene clay. Slippery lubrication for the landslide. I'll show you this whole area is a base of clay. See all the clay there? And how it's eroding and falling down. It's very slippery. And this slope will eventually fall down here. But the whole of this northern part of the Fraser Valley is on this Pleistocene clay layer. And there's a good example of it. So, and it's quite a few feet, if not yards, thick. And see how the water gets into it. It's dripping with water. Very slippery. Acts as a lubricant so that the whole hill can fall down. See all these houses built on the slopes there. And these ones too, all built on the slopes of the mountain. And then these ones, hundreds if not 1,000 homes up there on the side of a mountain. There they are, 3 big developments. And I don't know if they realize, but this whole area is built on a foundation of clay. Now it's quite valuable clay. It's sometimes called Blue Mountain clay. It's was good for making bricks, Haney brick and tile. It's good for making pottery, etc. But all the way down to the Fraser River and all the way up past Alouette Lake is this huge layer of blue clay, it's called. And it was probably laid down maybe even millions of years ago when this was the bottom of the ocean. And the silt collected, turned into clay, hadn't quite turned into rock yet. Someday maybe it will be, but anyway, on top of that, when the land dried out, then earth was deposited, etc. Glaciers came through and scraped away some of them. The bedrock underneath is very low, and then the clay is on top of that, which can be many feet thick. Anyway, the clay works as lubrication when it gets wet. In rainy season, it's going to slide. It's like grease, well lubed. So anyway, that's a warning, and hopefully these thousands of people will take heed the warning. Over and out. Okay, here I am on the Port Haney Wharf on the Fraser River, and today I wanted to show you the results of the great landslide of 1880. Now if you look down the river there, maybe I can zoom in a bit. Notice how down there, that's River Road on the top of the bank of the river, and it is several hundred feet above the river, and it goes right down steep to close to the water's edge. But then as you come along here, you can see that's called Carr's Hill over there. You can see there's a traffic light on the top. That's red right now, now it's green. And anyway, down from there it drops over 200 to 300 feet into this basin here, which goes all along here for approximately a mile. You can see the bank continues up there about 300 feet, that's uphill. The highway, that's highway up there, that is up this hill, and that's probably 100 feet above us, and then it goes another 100 or 200 feet up to the main part of Lougheed Highway, which is a little bit further back, and I can't see it from this angle. And then it goes over there to where the Haney Brick and Tile Company used to be, which is now the museum, and that's about the end of the landslide. So this whole area slid into the Fraser River in 1880, and it was caused by the Haney blue clay that became moist and then slid. It's a good lubricating agent. Slid the whole approximately over a cubic mile of land, clay, rock, earth, and all the buildings of the original Haney, which were here where these buildings are, but they were all taken into the river. I don't know why. They must have had some warning or something, but nobody on this side of the river was allegedly killed, or maybe they just don't know. They were keeping good records at the time. But the landslide actually ended up blocking this river, ended up in the river, the giant tsunami that went over onto the other side there and killed people on the other side. They found them dead up in those trees there, or probably not the same trees, but in some trees. This was in 1880. I don't see any that were probably around in 1880 over there. But there's only one recorded death. A guy named William Edge was found up in the tree. But some of my relatives have passed down the story that there were more people and they were found up in the trees after the giant tsunami. Okay, so that's the explanation of this area, and that's where the landslide actually exposed the blue clay that Haney became famous for, and for the next century they made their famous bricks and tiles, and they were called Haney brick and tile. Supplied most of the province with their brick building material. They were loaded here at this wharf onto barges and shipped down that way, down west to Vancouver and to Victoria, where the big hotels were constructed. The Haney, the Hotel Vancouver, which is a Fairmont, I believe, and the Fairmont Empress in Victoria were apparently constructed of Haney brick and tile bricks. So anyway, that's where I was on my last brick adventure number 4, where those white bricks are right there. And I took my samples. I will mail them to Scotland and see what they say about them. And that is the story of the Great Slide and the exposure of the clay that started the big industry here. And that's the story. It would have to be rebuilt obviously afterwards. Now the old part of Haney, which is now the main part of Haney, is up above the slide, and but I don't think anything was up there at the time, but they moved the town up there at that time because of the slide. And Haney Brick and Tile was formed and built and operated for over a century over in that direction. And this is the mighty, deadly, famous Fraser River. And that's where William Edge ended up in a tree on the other side, although again I doubt those trees are from the 140 years ago when this happened. Okay, thank you, over and out. Medical Toxicology, Gary J. Ordog, MD.